The PlayStation 2 is absolutely an amazing system nowadays. But in 2022 we have so many ways to play. In this particular video I want to talk about the HDMI solutions because they have a lot of them nowadays. So when you're looking at the PlayStation 2, we're having so many different versions. And with versions I'm talking about the fat and also the slim models. And not every HDMI solution will be the best version for you. And that is the reason I basically want to pick all of them up and just to show you what are the options and the differences between them. Because when you're having a PlayStation 2, it's highly possible a certain dongle doesn't work. But also for the PlayStation 2 Slim, we have a lot of options that we can use for this. There are basically two kind of cables that you can use. Basically there are three, but I just wanted to show you the old school composite cable and the component cable. I was using the component cable for a very long time to get like the best signal output from the PlayStation 2. But guess what? The problem is like a lot of television, even including my new ones, are not supporting the component. I do have the option for composite with some televisions, but come on, like this signal is so bad, especially on an old school LCD, it's not the greatest. For a CT it's okay. But then, yeah, we have some awesome solution with the HDMI. I wanted to make like my personal 5 ways to play HDMI on your PlayStation 2. I have got 6 products, but I just want to show you briefly what I'm having. I grabbed a couple of these things from the storage, but where you can see like sometimes we do have a deja vu moment. For example, we're having here the Kaiko version at the left and the right we go to get the Bitfunx one I've reviewed in this year. Yeah, so basically the Kaiko, we don't need that, because it's basically, in my opinion, one of the same and only with a different label on it. So in this video I just want to show the Bitfunx, we're going to check out the pound cable, then we're going to check out this PlayStation 1, 2 to HDMI, then we're going to get ourselves the PlayStation 2 to HDMI, one of my favorite ones, and of course the latest edition, the PS2 to HD, and show you what are the differences, the pros and the cons. Okay, so let's talk about the cheap stuff, because Wicked loves cheap. Okay, so the first one we're going to check out is the PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 HDMI solution. So that's the first one, so let's check it out and let's grab ourselves the capture card. Alright, so the first try I wanted to give you a look at Tekken 4. And I can say like it looks playable, but it looks completely washed out. And especially when you're going to get into a different game like Outrun, then you will see it's going to be freaking unplayable. I'll give you an example what I mean.
Race for the top position.
The second one is also a cheap one, and that is basically the PlayStation 2 to HD. And the reason I choose this is because it will utilize the same kind of signal from the PlayStation, only in my opinion it looks slightly better than the previous one I'm showing you. But okay, so let's take a close look with the capture card with this one. So the latest release of the PS2 to HDMI is slightly better than the other cheap one, but also like this image, it's still a little bit washed out, but not like with when you're looking at Outrun and the first dongle, that was like freaking horrible and in my opinion unplayable. I want to give you a quick preview of Dead Alive 2. Better game and better example, and here you can see like everything, the lighting and everything looks way better. So let's take a close look at some Outrun now. And last but not least, my favorite one, the PlayStation 2 to HDMI. And take consideration when you're looking at this device, yeah, it's going to be like having a completely different signal because it utilizes the composite anymore. It uses the component, and that makes this thing pretty damn awesome. So let's grab the capture card again and let's see. So this older dongle is dirty cheap and it has such a better, let's say, signal output. But there are some things you need to consider. First of all, it doesn't support the RGB signal out through the PlayStation. You're not going to get any image whatsoever. But it does have the option to have the 480p like with Outrun. So let's take a close look at it. And this is basically the best signal you can get from your PlayStation 2. Alright, so next up with you have the Pound, and the Pound is slightly expensiver than all the other dongles because the other ones are like freaking cheap. And then we're going to get ourselves the Bitfunx. So let's take a close look at these two. Okay, so let's do a quick unboxing and let's take a close look at the Pound. What comes inside the package, it's very nice looking. The Pound is a very cool product, but I just want to take a close look at it. And the first thing I'm noticing is that we do have the HDMI, we have the input for the micro USB, but this thing haven't really a switch that you can switch between signals. And what I mean with signals, I will show you. So let's capture this one first. So basically the Pound cable is between, let's say, the cheap dongles that has like horrible or horrendous like signal output, and then we're going to get like the other side is like the PS2 HDMI. But the one thing you need to take into consideration that this Pound cable is way more expensive than this couple of dollars cheap module, but it does have only support for RGB, what I know of. So in other words, this means we cannot activate the 480p signal output that we could with the PlayStation 2 HDMI cheap dongle. And it is not like a really bad thing, but you cannot utilize the best signal output from the PlayStation 2. So this is basically the best that you can get with the Pound cable so far I know. Okay, last but not least, the Bitfunx, and the Bitfunx is a quite a deluxe version. Oh, I just realized I have a brain fart. I didn't put it in the box. So what you're going to get is a very nice, I say metal looking device, but what you're going to get is the switch over here. And what I like it, let's see if I can zoom in for you. Right, I was upside down. Here we're going to switch between the RGB and the component or cable. Let's put it like you can switch between two kinds of signals with this very annoying time button. But what you're going to get with this, yeah, it's absolutely amazing. You have like the option to switch between it. For example, if you have the settings of your PlayStation not right, this thing will work very well. But let's take a close look at the signal. And let's see how good it is. So in my side-by-side comparison with the Bitfunx combined with the PS2 HDMI, the reason I wanted to side-by-side compare these is because you're going to get like the same kind of signal outputs, but how will this dongle utilize it? Quick spoiler, so when you're looking at them side-by-side, you can see like there was like a kind of weird green like looking filter over the Bitfunx, a little bit of a bummer, but it does utilize the 480p, and if you just want to play some old school games, or going to like the maximum level 480p with the PlayStation 2, you do have the option. So let's take a close look at Outrun again. Alright guys, so let's do a side-by-side comparison with all the solutions. At the right I'm always going to show the PlayStation 2 HDMI dongle, in my opinion one of the best one, or basically it's my favorite one. But let's take a close look at the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2 dongle at the left side. Okay, so the reason why is very simple. And the left one is like the cheapest one too, but it's absolutely horrible. Like when the tiny screen it looks okay, but when you're looking at the wide screen I've shown you before, absolutely horrendous. The PlayStation 2 HD is a new 2022 solution, but I can tell you it's slightly of an improvement, especially when you're looking at the 1080p function and you're looking at the first dongle, absolutely big improvement. But also the price was a little bit higher than both dongles. Okay, so next up we're having the Pound cable, and the Pound cable is between basically like the Bitfunx and let's say the cheap PS2 HD. And so far I understand it doesn't support the 480p that I've shown you before. So the Pound cable is one that is quite expensive. So when you're looking at the other one, sometimes like 5 times the price of the cheap PS2 HDMI. So when you're looking at the latest one, that is the Bitfunx edition. The Bitfunx is another great solution. I think when you're looking them side by side, I didn't make a video about it. It's like you can see, like it still has this very weird green glow on the screen itself. But again, I personally don't like it, but it's more like a personal preference. But again, it does have a lot of cool features. Okay guys, so for the final conclusion. So basically we do have like two types. We're having here the cheap ones, and here we're going to get the, let's say, more expensive one. Like, it's not a big of a difference, but there is a difference. Let's talk about the cheap ones first. Alright, so let's take a close look at the middle one first. The PS1 to PS2 to HDMI. So it's pretty cool, you can use it on the PlayStation 1, but the signal output is pretty damn horrendous. Like, absolutely horrible. And this is something I would not really recommend. The other cheap option is this PlayStation 2 to HD. It's pretty cool that we have like the upscaling for 1080p and 720p, and yeah, it's not like the best signal. It utilizes the same one like the previous dongle, but my favorite one is the PS2 to HDMI. It's cheap, it's plug and play. Take consideration that you set it to the right settings before you plug it in, otherwise you're going to get no signal output. Yeah, I did a separate video because a lot of people did have the issue with this dongle. Okay, so that's basically what it is with the cheap ones, but let's take a close look at the more expensive ones. When you're looking at the more expensive ones, yeah, the Pound and the Bitfunx, when it comes to the audio video quality, yeah, it's not like it's going to be a major difference, but you can see it when you're looking very closely. But the favorite one of the two is the Bitfunx, simply because what you're having with this is that we do have the option to switch between the signals. I think that's such an easy thing. Like, if you accidentally set it on RGB, you cannot switch back, set it to the right signal output, and just be on your way. And yeah, when it comes to just the way how this works, that is one of the things that I really love about it. So the Bitfunx has my preference when it comes to, let's say, the more expensive ones. Okay, so the conclusion is, if you're searching for a cheap solution, this PlayStation 2 to HDMI, I think it's a pretty damn cool one. But take consideration, some PlayStation, like the really first model, don't have the support for component cables, so we can also not use this one. So that is basically something you need to take consideration. And yeah, when you're looking at the Bitfunx, and I think the other brand was Retroscale. So far I know like both of them are the same company, but they're selling this. It's pretty damn cool with the option. If you just want to spend a little bit more money and you like the signal output, yeah, that is something you need to take consideration. That is a great way. So nevertheless, like, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. This is my, let's say, top 5 or my 5 different ways to play HDMI on your PlayStation 2. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit that little bell, become an Awakened family, and I will see you in the next video.